Alrighty, review video CMS-3331 Southern University. We are taking rooms 119 and 124 in the education building, deinstalling them, and then reinstalling them in IT rooms 101 and 102 with a couple of small changes. That's it for the scope, really. I won't get into all the specifics because I'll just go through the drawings. Picture-wise, not much. Let me show you the old rooms. You got an interactive display with wireless keyboard, a projector, a manual screen, a wall mount rack where all your gear is in, and from what I can tell, 4 speakers, I think. I'm not totally sure on the speaker count. Let me pull up the finished drawing here. Alright, so this is the old drawing from education rooms 119 and 124. This actually originally said there was 10 speakers. It's not going to be 10 speakers. I think it's 4. But anyway, we're deinstalling all this stuff. Your OFE PC in the rack, a Crestron wall plate, a keypad, switcher, HDMI extender, a receiver just for the projector, a USB extender set, and then amp, and then the speakers and the interactive. So this is this exact same system in both of these rooms. We are deinstalling all of it, including the OFE projection screen. So when we do the deinstall, it will be all the equipment and the cabling. For both these rooms, make sure to test the system before we do the deinstall. Make notes of any of the functions of the room that are not working or working, whatever. We need to know if there's any defective items, anything that needs to be replaced. This entire job is based off of OFE equipment only. It's mainly just a labor-based job. So we need to know if any of that gear isn't working, let the client know, and then any equipment changes will be a change order needed. What we're doing with pretty much all of this gear is it's going to be reinstalled into the education rooms as a combinable room, except for your interactive displays and mounts, your watt boxes, and your USB extender sets. Those will not be going into the new room. One set of those, like one display, mount, watt box, and extender set, are going to go into another job, CMS-3331. The second set of those same things will just be turned over to the client for them to hold on to for future install. We will be using one of the HDMI extender sets in the reinstall, but the other one will also be left over to go with that CMS-3331 job. I have some notes of that in the reinstall too. I have here to make note of the projector throw so it can be replicated in the reinstall. However, there is already projection screens in the IT rooms, and I don't know if they're the same size as the ones we're deinstalling. The one thing I do know is that the ones we're deinstalling are manual screens. The ones in the IT room are electric screens. Yeah, so that's it. You can take note of the throw distance, which from the picture I saw it looked about 10 feet, but it might be a different size screen, so it might not matter. If that's the case, when you get to the new room, what I've done for real quick adjustments of this is put the projector on top of a ladder, like a 6-foot ladder, and find the spot in a room where you can zoom it and center it and move the image around to where it works for the screen that you're putting it on. And that's probably what we got to do in this case, because I don't have exact model numbers of the screen or the size of what we're doing. So it's going to have to be figured out on site. So with that being said, let's go through the reinstall. So room 101 and 102 of the IT building. This will be a combinable room, so to speak. Wall racks in each room. Projector with the OFE projection screen that should be in the rooms already. PC, laptop wall plate, and then a keypad in each room. When they get combined, there's nothing fancy going on here. These are just older keypads. They're not going to reflect the combined state like most of our newer rooms would with the touch panel. Basically, each one has the same inputs, the PC and the wall plate, except in this room, we're going to use a second output, the HDMI output, and we're going to use one of those HDMI extender sets to send whatever video is in this room to come through into this room for video and audio so that they're combined. So kind of leave it up to the programmer, but basically I assume there's going to be a button here. You say combine. It'll swap this switcher over to this input that just takes whatever's being sent out here to project it onto the screen and be heard through the speakers. This keypad basically will just be doing the same thing as it did, but when they're combined, room 101 is like the master controller. Whatever source is shown here is what's also going to show up here. And then when they're uncombined, it'll probably be just going back to the dedicated PCs in each room. Nothing real fancy on the programming side. I put here 4 speakers because it looked like there was 4 speakers. If there's more than 4 in the original rooms, I put a note here, I don't have pictures available of the IT rooms we're installing into. So my note is the amount of speakers in the reinstall may differ of that from the original rooms. We think it's 4 in the original rooms, so we're going to put 4 into these rooms unless there's more. Use your best judgment as to how many speakers are needed for best full coverage. From what I understand, these rooms are larger than the rooms we're deinstalling, and the client, they understand that the system might not be up to full coverage for audio wise or be up to the same full specs video wise. They understand that it's an OFE system. This is their request. Just take what they had in one room, move it to these IT rooms. There's nothing in these IT rooms. They just need something there. So if the screen doesn't, if the projector doesn't fill the whole screen, that's a side effect, or I should say a side effect. That's a cause of it being an OFE system. And then, so we're just here to do the labor, move the parts, put it into the room, get it working. If they want to change it where they need a new screen or they need more speakers, that's all a change order. This job just covers the labor for us to deinstall and reinstall the system into the room. It might not work the best in the room, might not be the most adequate for the room, but that's all this job is. So, yeah, 2 sources in your switcher. That HDMI extender set to send video from room 101 to room 102. DM out over CAT to get to the projector. And then left right out into the amp to feed some speakers. Very straightforward. All of our control will be over LAN, so the projector's controlled over LAN, the switches over LAN, and then this will be PoE and control here for the keypad. Same thing on the second room. No changes. Same setup. That's really about it. The other thing I put here on the reinstall side is to just kind of clarify what gear is being used where. So once we deinstall, some of the gear that will be returned to the client for them to store for any future use would be any unused speakers, if there are any at all, one of the planar interactives in the mount, one watt box, one Icron extender set, and then any unused pre-made cabling. And then the second interactive mount, the second watt box, and the second Icron extender set are going to get put aside, or maybe move it into the admin building because it's going to be used for another job we're going to be installing. We're going to reuse it. And then the unused HDMI extender set will also be used for that same job. So when you deinstall, just make sure that all these pieces of gear end up in the right places, because we got to reuse these here, these we don't. And yeah, that's about it. So good luck. There will be some setup on your side when you do the reinstall. Like I said, with the projector, just getting it sighted in, make sure to get the right distance. If you want, when you get out there, you can, if you can find a model of the screen, we can always put in projector and screen into a little calculator and come up with a more precise throw distance. But I've been out on site doing jobs, and I just lift a projector up on a ladder and find the ideal spot for it in the room. And these are the lighter, smaller Sony projectors. They should be pretty easy to move around and set up and test with. So either way, same with the speakers. If you have questions, reach out to myself or Rob. Rob, say hello.
Hi, guys.
There's Rob. He'll be your salesman on this. It's SUNO. They always pull this kind of stuff, so it's always a ton of fun. And yeah, if anything goes wrong, blame Rob. Okay, bye. Thanks.